This one's for anyone who's been struggling to do a deal but's been afraid to ask for help. One of Ryan's students, Micah Johnson, just made $12,000 on his first wholesale deal. And I love the fact that he got it done quickly with Ryan's help and is building that war chest that's going to help him feel comfortable for weathering any storms that come in the future.
Yeah, I think it's important to analyze the word quickly, because in Micah's case, it did take 90 days from the day he started this process to the day that he got that $12,000 check. But in the grand scheme of time, that's pretty quick. And that is something that he put the commitment towards doing and sought the right help to get there instead of trying to figure it out on his own.
Why don't you tell us about, in 30 seconds, what we're celebrating today?
Oh, I closed my first wholesale deal.
Yeah, that's awesome. How does that feel?
Yeah. It feels good, man. It feels really good. After being in real estate for 10 years, like finally doing it this way, it's liberating.
We got to back up because there's a lot of story that has to be uncovered on how you even got to this window of needing to do wholesale or wanting to do wholesale. Yeah. The journey for you started when? What happened? What was that oh crap moment?
Like to real estate or to wholesale?
To wholesale.
To wholesale. Oh, I was working for a real estate data company and got the chance to meet a lot of people in the industry. I'd come from a traditional real estate background. So that position I had went away just abruptly, got laid off. And when I was coming out of that, thinking about how I wanted to go back and use real estate, because I'd been doing it about 10 years then, was the way that let me create the life I want to live was through wholesaling. And there was a method to do it, to focus on it, where you actually live a life, create a life you enjoy living. And that's what sent me that way.
And so have you achieved that yet?
Step one.
What's step two?
Is just keeping the pipeline the way I want it. Right.
What's step three?
Keep closing them.
What's step four?
Now you're getting into what I'm trying to get closer to in life, which is I want to go where I want, when I want, with who I want, and do what I want. That's the kind of life I'm trying to get closer to. Whether that means I'm flying to Missouri to play golf with Ryan or to an event like I met you guys at before. It's really that ability to, it's what freedom means to me, right? Like I got into real estate years ago to achieve freedom. It took me a while to figure out what that meant. And now I feel like I'm getting closer to it.
Nice. Micah, let's talk about the journey of that first deal, because we've tried a few different things. I know you were driving for dollars and we were sending postcards, but that's not how you found your first deal. Am I right?
No, it's not. So I had, from doing some calling and driving for dollars, I'd put a couple other houses under contract or made offers on them. And one of them didn't like the contract that I was using. And okay, some people will say that here in Florida. And I knew how to get that contract, or I thought I needed to go get that contract, excuse me. So I had driven up to Office Depot to see if they had a copy of it. And when asking the clerk where he kept the contracts, this lady walks up to me and says, "Hey, I'm a realtor here in town. And what do you need help with?" And I got to tell her where I'm a local investor and it's called a FAR bar. I need a FAR bar as is contract. Could you email me one? And she was like, "Oh, absolutely." And I said, "And by the way, do you have any houses that are like falling down or need help? Like you can't sell them normally?" And she goes, "I actually do. And I'm on the way there right now. Do you want to come see it?" I was like, yes, I do want to do that with you. Went and took a look at the house, made an offer on it that night, put it under contract the next morning, and away it went, man. It was really cool.
So she was involved in this process, right? Right. Was she like, was it under contract? Was she listing this property?
Yeah, it was their office's like pocket listing. It was a seller that knew they didn't want to go traditional, but it was a smaller brokerage. And they had, honestly, I'm going to keep tapping that pond because they have those kind of deals where they're just not sure who to do it with. So not only did it open up the door to that one, it let them function. They both got paid the way they get paid. They were involved in the deal, so they got the service out of it. The seller got what they wanted. I got a really simple transaction, right? I've done a lot of transactions in real estate, just not as a wholesale person. So I've seen how hard and difficult some can be. And on the scale of ease, this was, man,
Did she
easy.
know? Did you have the conversation with her that I'm wholesaling this? And was
100%.
what did that how did that conversation go? What did it sound like?
I just told them exactly what I was doing. And they went along with it, right? I just said, hey, this is what I'm going to do. I have access to these people. Here's why I don't particularly fix and flip. That's not a channel I want to use in my real estate journey. So I just tell them I don't. But I know the people who do. I know how to get this house sold quickly and really emphasize its speed of the deal. If they have a listing like that, they have some sort of relationship with that seller and they know what needs to get done. Speed is their friend, and just saying that's what I'm doing.
So
And
she
they
had
went
a
along with it.
pocket listing that she couldn't find a buyer for. You come along and hey, I can find a buyer. Let's get this thing. Did you negotiate a price that was different than what it was the listing price?
It wasn't even listed. So I
How
just
did you
made an
come up
offer.
with your offer?
It's in an area here close to my house, and just knowing how to do CMAs, running through, creating the ARV on it. It was too easy. It was just one of those deals where it's clear. And when I made my initial offer and what they responded back as, I was like, oh, this is good. This is really good.
So she knew. Okay, so a lot of times realtors in my market, they're uncomfortable doing a contract that allows me to assign the property. So I'm assuming that contract for you was in place, that they were comfortable with it.
Yep.
But then we also want to know, how did you find the buyer for this thing?
Yeah, so in Florida, there's this contract called the FAR Bar As Is contract. It's designed by the Florida Bar Association and the Florida Association of Realtors specifically for properties like that. And it has a section in it where you can already check. There's multiple ways you can assign it, where they say you can't or you can, but you don't. You keep obligation, keeps you through. You can't just like get weird on them, or you can release all obligation. Most of them will go right along with you. Don't release yourself from the obligation. Keep yourself engaged. Stick to your deadlines. Keep communication, and they'll go right along with it because if you know how to do it with them, it's a really simple deal for them. It doesn't make sense not to.
Yeah. So how did you find your buyer for this property?
For this property, I put it into Investor Lift and was able to find a buyer. Before I did that, I went and hit some local meetups, started meeting some people, got a lot of buyers that weren't looking for that style of property. So that was effective. And then just for speed's sake, I went and used that platform, delivered. Actually, one of the guys that came and saw the property, I'd met him at a meetup that morning. And it was like, hey, I know you. You were here. So that developed a cool relationship. We got a few people through there, and it was from putting it on to selling. I think we're 14 days. It was fast.
What the investor lift? Did you partner up with somebody to get
I
access to
did.
that?
I did. Yeah. So I'm a performance coach is what I do besides real estate. And one of my clients has a nationwide investing company, and he was able to get me plugged in, get it in there, working on the backside so that we all got something from it and keep it moving.
Nice. And what did you make on your first deal?
12,000.
$12,000.
Yep.
What are you
Was
going to do
that?
with the money?
Yeah.
Say it again.
What are you doing with the money?
Oh, building a war chest. That experience with getting laid off had me use up everything I had saved just for the length that things were taking. And so besides going on a honeymoon, because I got married in that time frame too, we're planning what we're going to do there. It's just to build back up. The world's volatile. You never know what's going to happen. So really establishing a nice 6-month pad which is literally from the day I got let go to the day I got paid was 6 months. It was like this. Yep. Okay. This is what you're going to create first, so that deep breath, let life happen, take advantage of the opportunities, go through the hard stuff well, and just keep creating that freedom in your life, really is what it does.
Where do you think the second deal will come from?
One, I'm working on one out in Texas right now. They're supposed to sign today. And just this kind of staying open to where leads come from. I call it getting in the way of real estate. It's that same customer or same client that helped me sell it. He had a bunch of leads come into his system he needed help with and said, "Hey man, you want to make some calls?" And yep, I sure do. And I sit here at my computer, connected with a really good deal out in Texas. They're supposed to sign today. And there's quite a few dispositions we could do with it. So, and still doing the local live stuff.
What is your target to be able to say I'm where I want to be? What are you wanting to achieve per month in assignment fees?
About 12,000. If I do 12,000 each month, that'll keep me at the floor I want to create all the space I need for right now.
So that's the minimum, but the sky is the limit, because
exactly that's the floor. So I like to understand where my floor is, because that's where comfort is. Real estate doing it long enough, it has some peaks and valleys to it. So you learn how to mitigate those ahead of time to keep yourself off the roller coaster, so that you're not too freaking out when you really need to capture a deal, man, because you're back against the wall. Commission breaths, it stinks. It's easy to have it too when you really, really need a deal. So how fast can you create that space?
Commission breath? Is that what you said?
Yeah, commission breath. That's
I've never heard of that. This sounds like it stinks.
Yeah, it does. It's where they know you need the money, right? Like, and you may need it for good reasons or bad reasons, but it's coming out, and it's that's what I used to coach a lot of agents on. How do you do that? How do you make sure that you keep their best interests in mind, that you don't get too emotionally entangled in the deal? Anything can fall apart at any time. Like, it's just real estate. If it's that time, it was just one of the times. Don't take it personal. Like, how do you really get through that? And I like it because it actually solves the seller's problem. That's what I love about real estate. Is I like people. I like talking to them. I like to hear their story, which is good for sales. They just let them talk and explain to you. And if you can help them, help them. If you can't, don't. It's okay. Point them in a good direction.
When you lost your job, what was the emotions you were feeling in that moment?
Honestly, freedom. I had felt like a change in life was coming, where I have ADHD and dyslexia. I don't do well in certain environments. And the one I was in was starting to it was starting to mess with me, just the way I like to function. So I had, and I keep a journal. In my journal, I read very recently to the time when I got let go was, I feel a change coming. I think it's probably going to be the end of the year when this shift will happen, just based on the way I was feeling. So I felt freedom. I really put some emphasis behind my coaching business and some other things. And then as those got to where they were, then added back in real estate. So it was freeing, then terrifying for a while. Then you just kind of get into the heart of it, just, the daily stuff, what makes it, because it's daily actions that create results. Like, if you get too hung up on the results, you'll just never get there. You won't get the stuff you need to get done. And you really don't need to do that much each day. Like, we live on a roller coaster because we do so much and then have nothing to do, and do so much. Just relax, stay steady. It'll happen.
Yeah.
You'll meet somebody in Office Depot. Like, just weirdly enough, they just come out of the, they come out of the woodwork. That's why I call it getting in the way of it. Like, just go do real estate stuff, and real estate stuff happens.
I had the privilege, in a way, I guess it was a privilege. I consider it a privilege. The day that you did lose your job, I got that phone call, and I wasn't the one losing my job, but the anxiety that I felt from you losing your job, I'm like, there was a few things that went through my mind. First off, I was angry because I knew you. And I'm like, this guy is great. Who would ever want to fire him? But also, the second one was like, crap, now he's not going to be in the mastermind. Now that's like my favorite person at the mastermind is not going to be there. But then I'm like, but Micah, his personality is like, he's going to figure this out. He's not going to view this as like, I'm dead for life. I'm not going to be able to survive. I knew I'm interested to see how he's going to attack this. And you did exactly that. And we've had follow-up conversations about like other people that are in this journey of trying to get their first deal and get discouraged quickly, did you ever feel in this process of your getting your first deal, did you ever feel discouraged, like it's not happening? Why is it not happening? Um, did you ever feel that?
A little bit up front when just trying to get leads out there driving for dollars, doing the thing. At the same time that I just started doing that, my dad actually had open heart surgery. So
Oh,
he came and lived with me for a month because I took care of him. And so I just started taking him with me. Right. But you can only go for so long. Like I get it. And I'm out there in my mind thinking I need to put 4 and 5 hours into just going up and down and really knocking these out. But he's got maybe an hour and 15 minutes. Right. That's his max sitting in that truck before he needed to get out. So I started to feel like this anxiety towards like, I got to do. And I didn't want to miss out on what was actually happening in life. Right. Like,
Yeah.
it was a unique experience. Life said you need to do some other things right now, stay focused here. So there was that kind of grind between someone who likes to do a lot and someone their life said, hey, you actually have very limited time at the moment and need you to take care of this and this and this, which will make you not feel like you're doing a lot, but don't worry, you are.
Yeah. So in that process, you drove for dollars. You sent some postcards out. You got some phone calls back from that. How many appointments or how many opportunities did you go and look at before you got that first deal?
4.
So you're 25% because the other
Yeah.
ones didn't shake out.
No, they weren't. Either the numbers weren't good. Most of them, the numbers weren't good. And they didn't really, their situation didn't call for it either. Just what they needed out of it. And I made some offers. I still made some offers. One, first one didn't get taken, which turned out to be really good. Actually, like I would have had to cancel quick with something I learned about the house very soon after. I had this other one that I thought it was going to be a really good Airbnb deal. I live in St. Augustine, which is like a little Airbnb niche down here. It's the oldest city in America. And picked up one I thought was going to be good, had it under contract, then found out, I mean, the numbers were really good, but it had some fire damage, which was going to mean the house it was hidden behind a wall. You wouldn't really see it. Founded upon, actually, I was calling a buyer. I called the buyer or the owner of the Airbnb next door to talk to him about, hey man, you're right here. You know this street really well. You want to pick this up. And he's the one who said, did they tell you about the fire damage? And then when I went back and looked, oh man, so it was going to need tore down. That's an historic city. Like it's very hard to do that there with homes that are in that area. So what was good was all of a sudden bad. Right. So it's kind of going through that too. There was that moment where, oh, this is it. This could be huge. I mean, it had a 6-figure spread on it. And then, oh, I got to cancel this. What?
Yeah. Those are always tough. And I'll never forget like the first times the phone rang and there was a lead coming in, that anxiousness, because I'm like, this could be the deal. This could be the deal. I'm going to get this thing under contract. And then I start counting the money before I even get to the closing table. And then the disappointment of fire damage. Like, dang it.
Yeah.
Now you start from the very beginning again, trying to build the lead generation up and going on an appointment. But that's totally common. And
It's the way. So again, having some background in real estate, one of my things to my strength this time was I learned how the real estate process is a bunch of little check marks. And if you know how to see those, then you can really understand how good you're doing. And first one is, are you actually talking to people? Are you doing the stuff that gets you a chance to talk to people? Good. Did you talk to anyone? Good. Did what they say? Doesn't matter. You talk to someone. All right. Now, did you get to the appointment? Right. And each one is just taking you step by step, where chances are you're going to have to cancel one. Like I didn't consider that as random. Like it just is. They don't work out. But check, at least I got it under contract. At least I got EMD. I got each little step. Boom, boom, boom. That means I'm here. Right. And then I'm going to get there. If I just don't stop, I'm going to get there. And was really helpful for me because it was tough. Again, being in the space where I needed the money And there was a lot that could come in real fast. Like there was that gut punch of, oh man, because I had not quite met the other one yet. It was like a day before I met the realtor at Office Depot. Yeah, literally the day before. So it was like this, it just sends you back. And it was just, yeah, it's interesting because you got to catch yourself again. That's what I'm working on in my coaching world. I'm working on a project called the Practical Philosopher, because that's what I've learned through a lot of these experiences is philosophy. It doesn't teach you how to be a good person. It teaches you how to be good at being a person, right? There's skill sets to it. Learning how to, when life just, man, punches you, you don't feel like you deserved it. Deep breath. What do you do next? How do you not break your stuff? Right? Like, what do you actually want? Don't believe everything your brain's telling you right now, because it's not true. It's like just really catching yourself to get back to the point of, it's okay. I got this. Let's keep taking some steps forward. And it was just living that out. So it sucks, but it's also a really good opportunity because it's practice, right? You and
Hey, what do you mean in your coaching background? Can you explain that?
Yeah. So I've been a coach for realtors, and then I call it performance coaching for about since 2021. And in 2021, I became the vice president of a real estate brokerage, had about 60 agents, and I got to create all the coaching. And oh my God, I fell in love with it because it was just really showing them how to create, how to do real estate as a realtor where you don't lose your life, because it's really easy to do in that space. And it just really started to land more on just philosophy kind of things, like, but behind the scenes. I was working with a performance coach myself at the time, and just really starting to see how if you zoom out far enough, there's these little things that if you just do these well and add them up, it creates all that stuff. So it made it really practical. I call it the human calculator. It's an app that'll be out soon. That's kind of a lead in for some of the stuff I do in the coaching world, but it's really these just formulas to, if you do this right here, they're pulled up right here. I'll give you an example. So I think perspective is the most valuable thing in the world. Like the ability to see outside of what's really happening so you understand where you are and what you should do next.
Right.
So for perspective, my formula is it's comparison of X, like whatever you want to compare, minus self-judgment, because that's the part we mess up on. However, there was a time in life I wanted to be on the PGA Tour. So I had a coach and all this stuff, and I had the PGA Tour stats hung on my wall, and I had my stats compared against them. And I could show you exactly the reason why I wasn't there. Because if you can hit these averages that they're hitting. Now, if I went and got all huffy about it, that's not helpful, right? Because I had to compare myself to it with no self-judgment, because that won't let me grow. That, right? Really digging in to see what's actually happening. So when applying it to when that deal went away, perspective says deals just go away. You look at all this work you've already done. Don't take it personal right now. It's okay. Keep a good attitude, take a deep breath, enjoy the moment, keep moving.
Got it. Love that perspective from you being a coach, and love that you got a coach, right? You hired Brian as a coach to go into something that you hadn't done before.
Absolutely, man. There's people here to show us the way. Everybody gets there on the backs of Titans. Everybody. It's not, and that's what I loved about the groups that we were in together, is it's people actually understanding there's always room at the top for the best.
Right.
We're not competing with each other. If you're going to wake up each day and do what it takes, bravo, brother. I know, I do it too. I know what you're going through. It may be different fields, it may be whatever, but just the fortitude it takes as the person behind it all to get up and do big things. That's something we all share. And
100%.
knowing to go do that first, right? If you want to do anything, if you want a shortcut, learn the process, right? That's it. That's the shortcut. Don't dance around it. Find it. Let them teach it to you. Live it out daily, and you'll create it, right? Another formula for results is just activity times time. If you want something to happen, do it long enough. That's it. All you got to do is do it long enough. And we don't control time, but you control activity. Like that's where your focus gets. What do I just need to do? Because if I do this long enough, it will work.
How do you fight the mental hurdle of, I've been doing this for 3 weeks and it's not getting done yet? and now I want to be done, because how do you fight that?
Expand your time preference. That's the part you have control over. You're the one that's upset it's not happening in 3 weeks, but you're also doing it where there's never a light at the end of the tunnel, right? Like you're only seeing it go. So you need to realistically, if you study statistics, real estate deals take 90 days. It takes 90 days. And it was 90 days from the day we talked about doing it to the day I closed.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just this cycle. When I was coaching agents, I called it the 90-day mentality. You don't get normal paychecks. You're going to get paid today, 90 days from now. Whatever you do, it's when you're going to get paid. So just understand that's what today's really for. And that's what I would encourage them to do. Expand your time preference. You may be the guy that gets the $100,000 deal in 3 weeks. Maybe, but most likely not. And that's because it's so abnormal. We just hear that story the loudest. It's the easiest one to tell, right? And it's the one that's going to gain traction. One of my favorite statistics that I work with in coaching clients is, what age do you make your most money statistically? What decade? It's your 50s. Your 50s statistically are the decade that you make the most money. You can't argue with it. It is fact. So this feeling that you get where you don't have enough yet, you're not even good at what you do yet. If you don't stop, you're going to forget everything you know now because of how much you've learned if you don't stop. That's the guarantee.
But if you don't do anything now to build up to your 50s, you're
done.
That max of what you're making in your 50s is going to be pretty low. So
Right.
like spending the time right now, when you have youth, when you have time, if you spend all of that time right now building towards when you're 50, that's when you're going to experience that maximum growth. Which, if you're successful right now and you're like, I'm oh, this is so sad. I'm 12 years away from 50.
Yeah.
Like, okay, in 12 years, what I'm working for right now is going to pay off. Like, whatever I'm building up right now, in 12 years, it's going to be huge. And if you just take that, okay, well, let's double it up then, because whatever it's going to be, I want it to be bigger. Well, then I'm going to have to put a little bit more time, or maybe not more time, but change the way that you're going to get it. This morning we talked to Seth Bolt, and his piece of like information was, get in the rooms of the people that are where you want to be and just shortcut to the knowledge.
Right.
Like, you don't have to spend all this time studying. You just go straight to the person that knows it, get it, and then run with it.
Yep. Apply it. That's the shortcut. And that's the process that they're going to show you the process. Here's how I did it. It's because it's not like, once you achieve big things, that's where everybody, like, the respect you get at the table is, you didn't do it by accident.
Mm-mm.
You lived out what it takes to do it. And if anybody pays to get in that room, it's why it's so valuable. You know that, okay, one, you paid to be here, so you value this. And two, show that you're willing to learn. Like, show that because a lot of times we don't like the answers that they have to give, because we want that. Well, I paid 20 grand. I just want the 100 grand. I think I'm owed due to getting it. But that's, again, it's just delayed. Wait 3 years. And that 100 grand might be 750 to $1 million if you took the time to listen.
Yep. Mike, as we wrap up, do you have any advice for somebody who's been wanting to do their first deal but's been struggling?
Believe it's for you. Right. It feels really like it's beating you up front. You've got to, in your heart, I'm going to do this. I'm going to get it done. And in the hardest times, believe it. And in the easiest times, believe it. And all the times in between, like, it is a mentality you take before results, because that's what's going to ultimately create what you want, is that. And I know it's hard. Believe me, I know it's hard, but do that. You maintain that. It drives everything else.
Great advice. Where can people find you online?
You can find me on Facebook. That's where I do most of my talking right now. Instagram. I am launching a Substack. That'll be out soon. Not really helpful for now.
What's a Substack?
It is what's Substack, or what is my Substack?
Both.
Oh, Substack is basically it's an ongoing email chain really, but it's not an email. So it's an app that you log into where you start to write about what's important to you. So, but it's more conducive to reading. You can turn on paid versions where you can get subscribers to it. I really enjoy it. It allows independent voices really to make their voices heard.
And what's your Substack going to be about?
It's called that one is The Practical Philosopher.
Okay.
Where I'm coming out with, I got my intro up already. Actually, I didn't know it's live now. So the Practical Philosopher Substack, if you look that up, and I'll get links to it. But yeah, it's where I'm going to, my goal is to start giving away just the formulas, the things I think about that have worked for me and really just created an amazing life so far. I want to share them, and that's where I'm starting.
Amazing. Ryan, where can people find out about your coaching?
Hey, Deal Flow Academy. And the success stories just keep piling up. But this is one of a few that have been happening. And check out Deal Flow Academy. Look at me up on Instagram, Facebook, Ryan Haywood, or at Heritage Home Investments. But Micah, good job, dude. Like, you got through that first one, and that's always the learning lesson. That first one's the one that is the prove it. And you did that. And I'm super grateful that I got to be a part of that journey. And I hope you just make millions now.
Hey, Ryan, what's the full URL?
www.dealflowacademy.com.
Okay, great. Thank you so much, Micah. It's great to reconnect with you, and congratulations on the success.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Thanks for listening to the DealMachine Real Estate Investing Podcast. Please leave us a review and follow along wherever you're listening to your podcast.